Rabbi Lori Kaufman, who's going to be leading along with Cantor Barbara Hamowitz the 10th service this year, and we're here to share some texts, thoughts, ideas, questions for this year's High Holidays. Great to have you.
Great to be here.
So I'd like to tell a story that's from the Talmud, and it's about Rabbi Elazar, who was leaving the house of study after having had a fantastic session of Torah study. He was feeling so good. He was thinking to himself, I could answer any question of Jewish law. I feel like I gained so much knowledge. And he was so proud of himself. And he walked out of there just feeling great. And he ran into this man, as he was walking along the way, who looked differently. And the man said to Rabbi Elazar, "Peace be unto you, Rabbi Elazar." And Rabbi Elazar looked at this man and said, "Is everyone in the town as ugly as you?" And the man responded, "Well, Rabbi Elazar, I suggest you ask the artist who made me." At that moment, Rabbi Elazar realized that he had made a huge mistake, and he begged forgiveness of this man. And the man said, "No, I refuse to forgive you. I suggest you talk to the artist who made me." Well, Rabbi Elazar followed this man around, and finally they got to the center of town, and there were all these folks, and they said, "Rabbi Elazar, peace be unto you, great rabbi, great teacher, great master." And this man, who Rabbi Elazar didn't think looked so great, said, "How could you call Rabbi Elazar a teacher and a master? Do you know what he just said to me?" And he repeated the story to them. And they said, "Oh, but he's such a great rabbi, he's so learned, you have to forgive him." And the man said, "I won't forgive him unless he promises not to do it again." After that, Rabbi Elazar taught in the Beit Midrash that one should always try to be flexible like a reed and not hard like cedar. And based on that teaching, we use a reed to write a Sefer Torah, a book of Torah, and not cedar.
I love that story. It's possibly one of my favorite stories in the whole Talmud because it deals with so many issues that we confront every day in our lives. The first is this concept of how we run into people who we find ugly, and it's not just physically ugly, but ugly in some way, which usually means that they're different than us. And how do we deal with someone who's other? How do we confront the other? And sometimes the other have to tell us that we're not really dealing with them in the right way. The second piece that I really love is that here you have Rabbi Elazar, this great man of Torah, who is so arrogant and so full of himself and forgets one of the basic rules of Torah, probably the first thing we learn in the Torah, which is that all of us, each and every one of us, is created in the image of God by the artist, by the creator, B'Tselem Elohim. So each and every one of us is equally worthy. And I love the fact that this great man of Torah is learning Torah from someone who he initially disdained so much, which really has to open us up to realize we have so much to learn from everybody around us, and we should never be so arrogant as to not believe that. And the third part that is so appropriate for the High Holidays is this concept of making a mistake and then asking for forgiveness. And that's something that the Rambam, the 12th century Jewish scholar and philosopher and doctor, wrote a lot about this concept of tshuva. And so what we see with Rabbi Elazar and the man he calls ugly is Rabbi Elazar asks for forgiveness, but he actually only asks once. And the Rambam says you have to ask 3 times before you stop asking. But the ugly man doesn't exactly do the right thing either, because first of all, we're told that we can't ask someone to ask forgiveness from God until they have given us forgiveness first. So he should have actually accepted the forgiveness. And we're told that when someone asks for forgiveness, we have to accept it immediately and openly and with a soft heart. That we should be slow to anger and soft and easy to forgive. And so that's why I love this piece about the teaching at the end about the Torah, the Sefer Torah, being written with something soft as a reed. So to me, that means every time we see the Torah and every time we hear the Torah, we should be reminded of this teaching about how to engage with one another, to engage openly and softly and forgivingly. And we have to be reminded because it's something we forget all the time. So it's both the Sefer Torah, but it's also what is written for the mezuzahs on our doors. So as we come in and we go out, there's lots of places to remind ourselves of how we should interact with one another.
Beautiful, thank you. Shana Tova.